Hi, this is Kirk, the bariatric carnivore, and guess what? Carnivores don't poop. That's not true. I couldn't help it. It's kind of fascinating to me how many people have told me that they keep wondering how in the heck, can you eat a carnivore diet and not have any fiber in your diet? And they're very concerned that I'm going to end up with some sort of horrible cancer in my bowels or something like that, or that I'm going to be constantly constipated because I don't eat fiber. Well, let's look at that idea. What's the science behind it? What is the research that says that you need fiber in order to have a healthy digestive system? And frankly, there's none. There's only scientific consensus. There's epidemiological studies that show that there seems to be a link between people who eat lots of fiber and they seem to be healthier. The problem is these epidemiological studies have what we call a healthy user bias. People that eat lots of vegetables, high fiber diets, etc., also have a tendency to exercise more, see their doctor, and not drink, and probably don't smoke. People that eat healthy, in other words, quote unquote healthy, have a tendency to have healthier lifestyles. And as a result, they're going to live longer and have fewer of these cancers. That makes sense when you think about it. The problem is you can't create any linkage between what they're eating, and the healthy result that's happening. Their overall health may or may not be a result of what they're eating. So when you kind of study it again and you break down, can you create a very strong link? See, an epidemiological study with a very strong link would be like the study they did on smoking. There was this very evident link that, you've got about 25 times greater risk of dying of lung cancer if you smoked. That is a good link. Now, when you look at the amount of fiber somebody gets, well, those basically break down to random chance. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But there seems to be this quote-unquote scientific consensus that says, well, we think eating a high-fiber diet makes you healthier. Well, that's a problem. See, when you take a look at scientific consensus, here's the political problem you run into. Ever since the 1970s, there's been a scientific consensus that a low saturated fat diet is the healthy way to eat. And that has been the government's position. The government, though, controls the purse strings for most of the research for scientists. Their salaries depend on it. And as a result, if you break against scientific consensus, you don't get funded. You may be a tenured professor somewhere, but you can't publish your data if you try to say anything against the scientific consensus. See, the system is psychopathic. It is not designed for your health. It's designed for the good of those that participate in it. So scientists are really stuck in a situation where if they want to be thought well of, if they want to get published, if they want to get research money, then they have to go along with the scientific consensus. Doesn't make any difference if there's any evidence support it or not. We keep seeing this time and time again. Recently, the many organizations have been coming out against saying that dietary saturated fat is an element of any heart problem, because there's no evidence to show that eating dietary fat causes heart disease. If you Google it, you're going to notice that there's more and more quote-unquote scientific consensus, that keeps saying, well, maybe fiber isn't all that important. And frankly, I don't think it is. When you really dig into it, you just kind of realize there's no real evidence that fiber is all that important. I mean, part of the reasons why we think it is Mayor Baker Eddy. She was head of the Seventh-day Adventist. She had a vision from God that said that meat caused unnatural lust amongst men, might have children masturbating. I'm not kidding. And so therefore, she was very anti-meat. One of her disciples was this guy by the name of Kellogg. You may have heard of him, may have heard of his cereals. Well, he also ran a sanitarium and where he worked to get people healthy, and he used to eat a lot of high fiber and lots of vegetables and stuff like that. And that was kind of the consensus on how to get well. Now, was there any science behind that? No, it was a religious zealotry. Another Christian missionary was over in Africa, kind of noticed that, the people the area that he was in, people had virtually no cancer, particularly no bowel cancer. And they all seemed to eat a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. So therefore, he hypothesized. He never had a scientific study to show that it caused it, but his theory was that the high fiber diet created no bowel cancer. It was protective. Now, if he'd gone a little bit further north and met the Maasai, he would have realized, well, that's not completely true, because those guys ate zero fiber. All they ate was meat, blood, and milk. And they had zero bowel cancer too. Now, if you were going to blame anything, you'd probably blame the standard American diet or the Western diet or whatever you want to call it. Basically, vegetable oils, sugar, wheats, and grains. Those things, areas that have those things in the diet do seem to have a lot of bowel cancer. But that's associative. That's not proof. Nobody's done a double-blind study. Well, here's another angle, that a lot of people think that when you go carnivore, you're not going to be able to poop because fiber is great for constipation. Well, where do we get that from? Well, because everybody says it. Well, have there been any studies? Well, yeah, frankly, there was one. But it didn't show that fiber helped in any way, shape, or form. It actually showed the opposite. Dr. Ho and his team looked at, they put people in three groups. One, they gave them, they were all people that were dealing with constipation. One, they gave a high fiber diet to. One, they kept them the same. And the third, they gave them basically a zero fiber diet. The only people that got relief had zero constipation at the end of the study were the people who got zero fiber. So, kind of puts an end to that myth too. So your body is designed to eat meat, not vegetable matter, not indigestible fiber. When you compare us to our closest ape ancestors, chimpanzees, the great apes, etc., they have a much longer intestinal digestive tract than we do. They have to eat 20 hours a day to get enough energy into their system, and then their system is designed to keep that fiber in their gut longer. And what they're doing is basically fermenting that, trying to get as much energy as they possibly can. But because of the way our system's designed, which if you notice is significantly smaller than our ape ancestors, we're designed to eat meat and get the nutrients out of it. And as a result, we only have to spend maybe 20, 30 minutes a day eating, and we're done. That frees us up to do a lot more things. One of the reasons why we're not living in trees is because we've adopted. Our genetics are, over years we've evolved to become meat eaters and become much more efficient at grabbing nutrients out of meat-based foods. It's what allows us to have the biggest brain in the planet. Meat heals. And by the way, please don't neglect that little idea that meat heals. There's a lot of people that suffer from irritable bowel syndrome, celiac disease, and a whole host of autoimmune diseases that causes them tremendous pain. I mean, I've known a lot of people that have gone through a lot of pain with irritable bowel syndrome, and they eat a high fiber diet because their doctor tells them to. But I also know a bunch of people that have gone off of that have gone carnivore and gotten tremendous relief because they're not irritating their bowels with a bunch of indigestible fiber. You don't need it. Now, the other question is, well, if you don't have fiber, what's going to happen to your microbiome? Well, that's an interesting question. We don't know. We know that the microbiome is important. We know there's trillions of bacteria that are alive in our system that we're transporting, and it makes up nearly a third of us. and they do a tremendous job of breaking down and digesting stuff. But we don't exactly know what's the right combination. And when you compare the digestive, the stool samples of different primitive tribes, those that eat fiber, those that don't, their microbiomes are basically the same. So it doesn't seem to create that big a difference if you're a meat eater or not. So I'm quite happy not worrying about, it's a lot less irritating. Your stomach doesn't bloat. And frankly, you fart a lot less. I mean, you look at and I notice this with vegans. They always have poochy stomachs. They're gassy. Some of them take great pride in the fact that they fart a lot. I don't want to be that guy. I kind of like just having my system all to myself. And I like not being bloated, and it's a lot less painful, and I'm quite happy with it. So I've experienced both. I've tried eating a high fiber diet because I was told it was healthy and just got gassy, and it was kind of painful. And I've done carnivore, go to the bathroom once a day, and I'm done. I'll go with the carnivore. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. If you like this message, please hit the like, subscribe button. Please, it helps us stay in touch and expand this channel to more people. We try to put out a message every day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.